Hello everyone and welcome to today's Fortra webinar. Today's topic is how to make the most of SQL with web browser-based data access. My name is Greg Schmidt. I'll be the presenter for today's webinar. Today's webinar is focused around how you can use SQL Business Intelligence Web Interface, also known as SWI, and how to give users browser-based access to IBMI and other data sources on your network. So during our 30-minute webinar here today, you will learn, again, how to use the SQL Business Intelligence web interface that SQL provides and open other doors to different possibilities within inside of the organization to be able to give access to real-time data from laptops or mobile devices, if they're sitting in meetings or waiting in airports to board a plane. And this will in turn also free up IT's time with user requests, making business users happy along with IT and your programming staff. I also want to mention the SQL Business Intelligence is proud to be part of the Fortra's comprehensive portfolio. Fortra simplifies today's complexity of the business landscape by bringing complementary products together to solve problems in innovative ways. These integrated scalable solutions address the many challenges you are facing in streamlining your operations. With the help of the SQL Business Intelligence and some of the other solutions, Fortra is your relentless ally, here for you every step of the way of your business analytics automation journey. Here's a quick look at the agenda before I get started. We're going to start off today with just a few trends that we're seeing in the business intelligence industry, and then we're going to cover what is SQL BI and how it can help you and your end business users. So if you're not using the SQL BI solution today, you'll see some of the different functions and stuff like that from the standpoint of what we can help with from that standpoint, from a user standpoint, IT professional, all the way down to the programmer level inside of there. Then we'll move into the topic of what is data mobilization, right? And what does that and how does that affect organizations today? And that will lead us into the types of access that we can provide with SQL BI. And so with the whole SWI interface or SQL Web Interface part, but also some of the other things that we can do, but mainly focused today on the web interface part of it. And then I'll be doing that live demonstration of the SQL Web Interface or the SWI interface. And depending on time, we'll do, we'll have some questions and stuff like that too. And I always like to cover, maybe in the live demonstration too, one of the biggest things when we're doing the SQL Web Interface is people want to get data, work data in the browser, but also export data out to Excel. So I'll talk a little bit and maybe show some of the different functions of our export to Excel and then our Excel plugins as well. Then we'll finish up again with some of that Q&A at the end, if depending on how much time we have during the presentation at the end. Feel free to enter your questions into the questions or into the chat window, and I will address them during the webinar or probably mostly at the end of the webinar, depending on some of the questions that I might see. I might look over and see a question and just answer it as I'm going through a slide here. But please select all presenters so all the questions are directed to me. We'll plan to end this session in as close to 30 minutes as we can, but then we'll, because there's a lot of great content, I'll try to do my best to stay on track here today from that standpoint. And today's event is being recorded, and you will receive a link after that you can share with anyone in your organization who could not attend today's session, or if you have missed something you want to rewatch, you can use that link for that as well. Again, my name is Greg Schmidt. I'm a 22-year veteran solution engineer here at Fortra, focusing in on the data with the SQL Business Intelligence, so data visualization, and also document and forms automation, with specialties in the business intelligence area and document and forms automation. I've been key in helping companies automate their data and document processes and streamline their troublesome and often cumbersome business processes with the use of technology and also strategic planning. I help companies with best practice during implementation and solution expansion within their organizations to get the most value out of the product the fastest. I also have over decades worth of experience in the IBMI report and data distribution, and also robotic process automation, so RPA, robotic process technology. We all know that the digital future is here. Digital transformation at some form is here to stay within growing organizations. It just depends on how companies choose to move forward with it and how fast. You work it into your company's IT and growth strategy. We all have been, living in the digital world for some time now, and we know how fast it is moving. Here are some of the trends that we are seeing on a daily basis and over the years as well, that we see. These trends on this slide are not in any certain order. All these trends are very important to companies' business intelligence strategies. But we all know access to data is one of the most important business needs to help fuel the growth and direction of companies today. The data trends show that remote access to data and mobilization will continue to rise to the top of the trends for most organizations that need deeper insights into their data and what it's trying to tell them. Another trend for years now is reducing the need for IT resources and the enablement of business users to access the data they need when and how they need it. Being able to insert automation when and where it's needed for delivery of reports or access to data. Replace the older technology out there. This would be like, in the use cases around Query 400, or if you're doing any special programming to access data and different kinds of queries that you might have. And another trend that I believe will always be there, on this list is being able to give power users direct access to Microsoft Excel. So being able to, do their jobs better, and get the data into Excel and be able to use Excel for, different formulas and stuff that they have, and update that on a daily basis. Okay, now for what SQL Business Intelligence can help you with. The sole purpose is to unlock the value of your data using analytics. Organizations can now start to get more valuable information from their data that is structured and analyzable to give them actionable insights. SQL Business Intelligence enables your business in the strategic decision-making process and gives you the tools either for IT or the business users to access the data easily and when they need it. We empower IT and business users by first providing IT the tools to easily translate and deliver lots of data from different data sources into clear and actionable stories with an easy-to-use interface to make users more self-sufficient in accessing the data they need by removing the need to do time-consuming coding and the building of those complex data warehouses or complex data programs by IT or programming staff. And by doing this, the before mentioned, it will in turn enable business users to make quicker decisions and more informed decisions and improve the overall performance and health of the organization by being able to look at the real-time data when they need it and how they need it. All companies today need to be able to use the data that their businesses and business systems collect on a daily basis more efficiently. If it's live data natively on the IBMI or a DB2 database, or as many organizations may have a mixture of different business platforms that are key to moving the business forward. And being able to take all that data, no matter where it lives, and use it to do deeper business analysis and tell stories that are consumable to the users. With Fortra's SQL Business Intelligence, we are helping IT and business users in organizations access and deploy easy-to-use data interfaces for their complex business data, which will in turn turn your data into actionable insights to deliver your business or drive your business to the next level. Our goal is truly to make it as simple as possible for IT and business users in all organizations to access data they need the way they need it. Here's another way to look at it. SQL helps you to simply simplify the complex, right, of your organization's data, if it is live data or if it's historical data. SQL helps you create reusable, secure, and easy or easy to use central repositories of views, dashboards, and other SQL objects. These objects are created over the business data and secure who can access them and the data in different methods, either IBMI based or SQL security based. We are truly simplifying the way organizations connect to their data and how IT, along with programmers and business users, interact with that data. In other words, what the SQL BI solution brings to your organization is not only to define the data access needs, for IT and business users, but also the connections between them. So each group has what they need to do their jobs to the fullest with efficiencies. Now on to the topic of business data mobilization. The definition of business data mobilization means making business data available for users within an organization internally and externally via an app or web browser interface so you can easily access on PCs or mobile devices. This means providing actionable information to the business community. Once provided that information, they can view, analyze, restate and download to your PC tools like Excel or even just in the web browser to be able to access it. This is not limited, remember, to just IBMI data. SQL is native to the IBMI, but it can connect to different data sources. Your users will become more empowered with the new business insights. Key elements of data mobilization, with SQL include some of the following, right? Secure access, being able to give secure, authenticated access to your valuable information, so you have the right people accessing what they need. The flexibility of analytics. Static data, has its limits. So being able to get real-time access to data, to your users brings them greater power in the decision-making process. Easy mobile access to data with no barriers. Access to the IBMI and other systems that you might have out there, other Windows systems like an Microsoft SQL database, Oracle databases, and different business systems, that run on those different databases. So we have a big variety, any type for JDBC compliant database drivers we can use inside of the system. And last of all, easy, making it really easy for the end user to easily implement and easily manage from IT. That's a huge part of that process there. Now on to the types of access for SQL BI. We are always keeping the end result in mind at all times. So with the SQL BI solution, we offer a variety of ways to provide users the data they need, and even in some cases apply automation options if needed to streamline it. For IT and stuff like that, if they're getting a lot of requests, for certain kinds of files and stuff like that, from the different business users. On this slide, it shows, how we can use, dashboards to share via desktops or web interfaces like we'll be talking about today with the SQL Web Interface to analyze key business metrics. Show graphs and charts, pivot tables, look up data, slice and dice it, in all sorts of different ways. We can do drill down analysis that can be applied to different views and also dashboards to increase the transparency to the information that is used behind the scenes to create these data stories. graphs and charts for a visual representation of the data, and making the data tell deeper and easier to understand stories. So I always like to say easier to consume that info data, right? Because data is very sometimes difficult to be able to visualize. So being able to consume that easier is a huge part of it. Graphs and charts for visual representation of the data. That makes it, makes those makes that a lot easier from that standpoint. And on-demand access, such as one-click output to Excel, or accessing that data directly from Excel using the Microsoft SQL Excel plugins. As far as the SQL Web Interface, it allows you to give secure data access to your users in your organization. Take your data with you wherever you go. Users can access that data with zero footprint, so nothing needs to be installed on their devices or computers to access the data. With SQL Web Interface, access to your SQL objects and data is secure. You can choose to require users to log in to SWI with the valid IBMI user ID and password, and then we can do deeper granular security if needed outside of the IBMI security. To further enhance the security and application capability, we can actually go down to the object level authority as well if need be. The result is flexible, secure, and cost-effective access to your data. When SQL and SQL Web Interface are installed, the setup is done for you. The infrastructure can reside solely on your IBMI with browser deployed information. There is nothing to install on the end user's PC or mobile devices. Just need access to the link to the SQL Web Interface. This gives your users the data they need and gives IT back, that they don't have to manage that access requests out there to those different kinds of data objects out there, or rewrite queries and stuff like that. And remember, before you can give access, before you can really give access to your data, you need to be able to, create views around those. So designing views and or dashboards or different objects inside of SQL is a key part of that. So no matter what level of SQL knowledge you might be at, if you don't even know SQL at all, you can use and access your data to be able to deploy to the web interface. So we have, expert level, we have, medium level, beginner level, and, all the way down to, no SQL knowledge at all. But here's a little different look at those different interfaces, right? So you might have some IT and programmers that are very skilled in SQL, so they want to be able to use the SQL statements and stuff like that. But then you might have other individuals in the organization that might want to just be click and choose, or more of a visual aspect of it. So we have that medium medium level, a couple different medium level options, all the way down to that beginner level option, which is more template based, that like IT or a programmer would set up for you to be able to select more like columns that you want to be exported, so that you can be guided to that data a little bit differently. With SQL BI, you can also create date prompts and calendar simplicity inside of the form. So there's different ways to be able to do that. If it's a single prompt, if it's a entry prompt, if it's a drop down list prompt. So you can do all those different things there from that standpoint and filter down into the data. So I always like to say, create one view that can be used in multiple ways, right? And for multiple people. So that you build once, use many times kind of feel. So that's a powerful piece to that. Client tables can be built, with a simple wizard. Your inquiries, it can contain columns and summaries, and you can do analyze and use filter elements inside of there. Pivot tables are used for, I'll call it, for easy drill down into your data. So you can slice and dice it the way you need it and the way you want. And that can be done via the web browser, or that could be done via Excel as well, or push it down to Excel. You can also create like those guided drill downs, right? So if you want more of a drill down into there, if people don't want to, you might have different levels of individuals inside the organization where they know what they want to be able to view, and they want to be able to slice and dice a little bit different. But we can also have plan drill downs, what we call application drill downs. This will guide you to that data, so they can just click on that button and get to that data directly. So like orders, and you might want to see who ordered something, right? Instead of going into a list and selecting things, that button can just pull that view back for you. So very powerful piece there. And if you need to create dashboards, all you need is basic Windows skills really for building dashboards, right? So taking the SQL objects, and using those different objects that you created, you can create charts and graphs around that information, to be able to give more of a visualization of that data sets inside of the application. So very, very powerful piece there with the dashboarding and stuff. Now I'm going to cover in the demonstration here the SQL Web Interface and how the zero footprint access to data looks like inside of an organization, and then how you can get it into those popular formats and stuff like that. And something to note, this will also help support your mobilization efforts within your organization, right? So this will also give you that need to be able to support that access from anywhere kind of feel here. All right, and I'm going to log over here to my computer. And I'm going to click on my link here. This link is going to drive me to the SQL Web Interface. SQL Web Interface is going to you're going to be using your IBM credentials here. In this case here with the SQL Web Interface. When you log in with your IBM credentials, it's going to give you access to do different things inside of the SQL Web Interface. You can enter a library that you might want to access inside of here. It might be in certain objects, or you might want to filter on different types of information. A lot of users will use what we call, and the list is actually built down here too. So you're sort of your recent list that you've been into. So if I want to go into a certain library that I have access to and then do that, I can do that. And then, like I said, I can filter down just to views. I can filter down just to maybe dashboards or scripts or something like that. So it does allow you to get more granular if you need to. A lot of our users that are using the interface here, they like to use bookmarks. Bookmarks are something that you can do. So if I go into a library and I want to bookmark something, I can bookmark them. So if there's something that I'm going to all the time and using on a daily basis, I can do that, or on a weekly basis or on a yearly basis or whatever it is, right? However you're accessing it, you can use the interface, the bookmarks feature inside of the interface to be able to bookmark those as sort of like a favorite, right? But be able to get to those different bookmarks at that point, right? So if I want to be able to say, hey, I need to go and see my orders, I want to go see my orders, or I want to go see, sales by rep or something like that. I can, double click on a sales by rep and say, hey, I can get to live data right there and say, hey, this is live data from my business system or from my CRM. I can actually get to that data right from, right from accessing. Or I might say, geez, I need to go and see, I need a customer list to be able to do some calling or do some certain things, right? If it's sales or if it's orders or if it's AP or AR, that's using this. But you can get to a customer list if you need to be able to see and get some of that customer information. But again, these are views or objects that you build in SQL. If you're not familiar with that. So these are different views. They could be dashboards. So you could be, connecting to different things in there. But accessing these, I can click on one. I can go to my actions menu and do different things like display results. I can save results. I can print results. I can email results, and all that stuff from this interface. I can also just go and click on something here and then double click on it like I just did. And then if this one has a prompt built into it, and this has a prompt drop down from a database. So I can say, hey, go and pull back all the orders for this customer number here from the drop down and give me all that information. And with this information, I might go, geez, might need to print this, or I need to email the results to someone, right? So you can do that from here, or I can save these results and download them to different formats. So maybe I wanted to download it to Excel. I can download it to Excel. So if you see here in the bottom left-hand corner, it downloaded that Excel. I can click on that Excel file, and it's going to open it in Excel so that I can work with that data. So I can do that different, if I have maybe some calculations, or if I want to manipulate or slice and dice it a little bit different, I can do that right from this interface. So really nice function there. If I need to get the other data too, we do have those plugins. So the Viewpoint plugin there. I'm not going to cover too much of this in this webinar, but we do have that where you can add different views and stuff like that to get to different other sets of or other views too. So directly from Excel. So we do have that function there. That's a nice feature. You can do different things inside of here when you're working with it. When you're working with the data, I should say, so that you can do subtotals like this has inside of here. So you can get some nice subtotal information. I can create graphs and charts. I can select some data first here. I can say, you know what, maybe I want to do some graphs and charts on some of this data, and then create maybe a column or a bar chart or something like that, or a pie chart. So we can do different things like that, or a line and bar graph. A lot of people use this for presentations, executive, kind of things as well. They want to be able to see, some kind of sales metrics between different customers, who's the high customers or the highs and lows of the sales organization and stuff like that. So they can see sort of those dips and ups and downs and the story that the data is trying to tell. So you can see that here, from that standpoint. And again, you can save these results. You can email them. I can even reprompt. So that's the really cool part about this, is reprompting and say, hey, I need to go and get different data from a different customer and go grab that. Very easy to reprompt and get that information differently. I don't have to rerun a query. This is actually doing it for you in the background. You're just doing your selection and then getting to that information from the interface. You can have multiple tabs open. So if I go back to my Explorer and say, geez, I need to have my customers file open and I need to see the order file, you can have those open and toggle back and forth in between those. So you can do different things like that from the interface standpoint. It just doesn't have to be one data view that you're accessing there at that point. So you can do multiple functions there. But that's sort of the nice part about the SQL Web Interface. You can do those different functions, and you can even do, like I was talking about, so like different data views and stuff like that. It could be, we have the scripting capability here inside the application, and this is more of a, hey, I want to see the top 10 depositors or something, from inside the system or something like that. In this case, this was a banking example here. I want to see the top 10 deposits inside the system. This can give you that information ranking and give you those different views into that data. So it gives you all those different capabilities, all the way down to dashboards. So if I want to be able to launch a dashboard from here, dashboards are just different objects of SQL, right? Again, so I can get to that data. And again, the dashboard gives you those nice, pieces of information inside of here with different kinds of action buttons and gauges and charts that I can manipulate inside of here a little bit to see the different data sets. Again, we can do those action buttons inside of here. We can do drill downs inside of that data set. So it's all different kinds of functions you can do inside of the application itself. All right, and I see that there's some questions here, so I want to spend just a few minutes on some questions. All right, I just want to make sure on time here. We got a couple minutes here. All right, feel free to keep entering any questions that you might have. We don't have a lot of questions, but we do have a few. And I think I answered this sort of midway through, but can you access other databases outside of the IBMI? And the answer is yes. SQL is IBMI centric, but it does have connection capabilities to other databases like Microsoft SQL, Oracle, MySQL. Again, any type 4 JDBC compliant database we can access to. And this is one, we are a current customer. Do you offer SQL training around any of the products? And the answer is a lot of this does not need training, right? So we can actually, when we install it and help you and guide you through it, the SQL Web Interface is pretty straightforward. But if there's other things that you need training on, or if you do need training on that, we can help you with that, right? So we do have different training options for that. Some kind of best practices and tips and tricks around, building views and being able to give those users access to it. We can definitely help you with those different needs and stuff like that. In some case, you don't need training. It's just more of a guidance kind of a thing, or spend a half hour or an hour with you up front to be able to guide you through that process. All right. Let's see here. And this one, we'll have to get back to you on that one. So well, the SQL, the web interface, have its own license. Yes, there is. You might have an earlier package that might not have had the SQL Web Interface. So there are some SQL Web Interface. If you don't have a license for it, you can talk to our sales team and stuff like that. If your package has that license available to it, you just might not applied it, or if it does, you need to purchase that license in some cases, depending on the package you purchase from us inside of there. All right, there's still a lot of great questions out there. Just for time purposes, I wanted to get close to that 30 minutes here, and we're a little bit over already. So we will get back to you on those other questions that are out there. I just want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. We hope you've learned some that this information today was very helpful for you to get the most out of the SQL web browser interface, right? The SWI interface. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to myself, the sales team. We'll be happy to schedule a one-on-one live demonstration for you as well. And consult you on your process and what you think you need and stuff like that, and we can sort of give you some best practices around that. Again, you will receive a recording link to this webinar after it usually takes about a few hours, so you'll receive one, and then you can share that with anyone in your company that couldn't attend today's session, or if you want to rewatch that. And thanks again for attending. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your week.